slow down and listen in. I'm here with Amber Trueblood. She's a licensed therapist, author, podcaster, and mother to 4 sons. An avid reader and learner, Amber curates courses, workshops, and simple self-care tools for women. Since the 2019 launch of her book, Stretch Marks, and podcast, I have the book right here, and I read it. It's incredible. Amber has written and contributed to articles in national publications, including The Oprah Magazine, Bustle, People, Fatherly, Wedding Wire, Mind Body Green, Good Housekeeping, and Parade. She's made it her life's work to help other moms find calm, peace, and fulfillment. By smashing guilt-inducing I shoulds, silencing self-judgment, and uncovering baloney beliefs, Amber can help each of us reveal what is truly important. And she and I share so much in our values and mission to help other women. I'm so excited to have Amber on and inspire us all to create a life full of joy. Welcome, Amber. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, Jessica. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, me too. So I looked up like the definition of stretch marks, right? Which we all have them. Most of us have them, but what does it really mean? And it's the scar that forms when tissues are stretched too far, too quickly. So to use this kind of really incredible analogy for both your book, Stretch Marks, and your podcast, what did that mean to you?
So to me, it was like the perfect metaphor that both moms could relate to, literally,
right? Of us, at least. When we look down, yeah.
Right. But also just figuratively speaking, like all of us, moms or not, have been through periods of our life that stretched us, that really tested our limits. And as a result, we're changed. We've grown, we've expanded, we've shifted our perspective, and we can't really revisit what we were before in a good way. And so I loved using the term stretch marks to just remind us that, like, yes, we are different. We've gone through trials and tribulations, and especially the planet now, and everybody's gone through them times 10. And really honoring and celebrating and acknowledging, like, yes, you went through this hard thing, but wow, like, what did you learn from it? How did you grow? How are you a different person now? And how wonderful that is. And let's maybe stop trying to hide and feel ashamed or guilty or embarrassed about stretch marks, and instead really embrace them, both the literal ones and the figurative ones.
Well, and I love the fact that it leaves a scar, right, as a memory. Mm-hmm. And I would say when I started my career, I was really young, and I would look up to all of these older women in commercial real estate that would complain about the wrinkles on their face. And I was like, no, but each one tells like a story. And I feel that way about like stretch marks, figuratively and literally, that it leaves like this scar on your heart. No, you can't revisit it, but it's a reminder of how far you've come.
Yeah.
And that growth that's happened. So was there a defining kind of stretch mark moment for you in your life?
Oh my gosh, so many.
I imagine. And 4 sons. Whew, that's a lot.
Yeah, so many. The first that comes to mind, well, first I have to give props to my editor at the time. I had a developmental editor that was helping me through the book, and he was an older gentleman. Well, I shouldn't say that. He was a gentleman who is slightly older than me, who didn't have any children ever. And so was an interesting person to be editing this book, first of all.
Yeah. I mean, would he get the perspective of like understanding a woman, a mother with stretch marks and the life and trials and tribulations we go through?
It was interesting because I think he was able to see some things that needed to be shifted that I wouldn't have seen and that another mother maybe wouldn't have caught up on. And then there were points when he was like, well, what's a pack and play? You have to define.
Really?
He was like, you have to define what a pack and play is. And I was like, I absolutely do not have to define what a pack and play is.
Not anyone that picks up that book needs to know what a pack. We know what that is. Yeah.
Right. So there were some things where, and he was like, there was one thing where he was like, you mentioned poop a lot. First of all, I don't. I mean, like, not in any sort of crazy way, but I was like, poop is like a real part of having little kids. Like, it's in your life. Like, it's not a big deal. So there were a couple things, but I had a chapter later in the book that talked about this one particular stretch mark that I have across my lower belly. And he was like, I've never seen anything written like this. I think it's fascinating. And I think you should start with this. And I think it might be the title for your book. And I thought about it and I kind of pitched it to some friends and family and kind of my alpha readers. And they were all like, yeah, I think this works. So that's where the book title came from. But as far as like a personal moment of stretch, my biggest one that I also talk about in the book is, I think when I was just starting to really come out of the weeds of small children, my kids were all born pretty back to back, 4 kids in like 5 years and 2 months, which doesn't seem like physically possible, but
that's a lot. That's a lot, girl.
And at the time I was like ready for it. Each one was planned, like, but looking back, I think, what? Anyway, but I remember, going to a dance class, and that was like the beginning of my really trying to kind of explore and expand, what's important to me outside of my role as a mom, and, and also just feeling exhausted and busy all the time. And how do I find that time and space for myself? And I remember not being able to drive back home. Like I just stopped at a park and got out of the car and went and sat under a tree. And I was just feeling this fluster of emotions of, sadness and loss and frustration, and then guilt. Like, here I have these 4 beautiful, lovely, healthy, wonderful humans. My marriage is going great. I'm supported. We have financial resources. Like, who the heck am I to be crying at a park? You know what I mean?
Which, I mean, that sentence comes like so true to so many moms. Like, who am I to feel this way? Right. I mean, that is such a sentiment that, we need to just kind of throw away, because everybody's entitled to have whatever feelings that they come up with.
100%. And it doesn't help those people who don't have, a healthy marriage, or don't have healthy kids, or don't have a financial resources. Like, you being more miserable is not helping them either. So, that's it, but it's something I think, like you said, that a lot of moms do resonate with, like, this disappointment or frustration. And then at the same time, this guilt for not being fully satiated and fully satisfied and 100% happy with your life as it is. And so I had that moment, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I need to do something, and I don't know what, and I don't know how. But that was, to me, like kind of a pivotal moment emotionally, like an emotional low, where I realized something needed to change. And even though I didn't know what that looked like or how it was going to happen, that was the beginning of the process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and we all lose, like, some of us lose more than others of ourselves when we have children. And I think it's okay. It's always okay, but it's absolutely okay to mourn and have grief for the loss of who you once were, and sitting on this path of rediscovering, like, who you are now, who you want to become. That's a huge pivotal point. And I think guilt, and you would probably agree, is probably one of our biggest obstacles as mothers, as women.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to overcome. I mean, every day, at least some point of the day, we're probably experiencing mom guilt. If you're a working mom, you feel guilty because you're at work and you're not working, or if you're with your kids, you're not working. There's no win in this situation. What other obstacles do you think that you find are common problems with moms in really just finding joy and success in life? And success means all kinds of different things.
I think there's two main things. I think guilt is one of them, and I think expectations are the other. And by expectations, I mean and it could come, your expectations of yourself, what you think you should be doing, how you think you should be behaving, what kind of job you think you should have, how you think you should feel about that job, like what kind of wife you should be, what kind of cook you should be, like all
just the word should just feels yucky.
Oh, I hate that word.
I hate that word.
I talk about it a lot in the book of smashing your I shoulds, like their iPhone devices. But I think the first step is just even noticing them, because so many of them lie beneath our consciousness. And so they're like programs that are running all the time. And they're the ones that are a lot of the source of that guilt, the source of that self-judgment, the source of that shame, the source of that frustration because at some level, you don't agree with most of these expectations. So you're like, you feel guilty about it. But at the same time, you don't flip and believe that, but because it's all kind of happening often in our subconscious, we have all of these different emotions and they're conflicting, but until we kind of notice them and ask ourselves and like kind of bring it up to the conscious level and ask ourselves, like, do I really believe that like I shouldn't be making more money than my husband? No. Does he believe that? Actually, no. Okay, then what's the problem here? And, sometimes, and I call it in the book, baloney beliefs, sometimes that is all you need, is just bringing it to the conscious level and it's poof, it's gone. I mean, honestly, sometimes it's that simple. And then sometimes it's deeper. And one of the tools, I'm all about practical tips. So one thing is just noticing where these, like when you're feeling guilty or triggered in some way emotionally, asking yourself, what's the problem here? What's my judgment? Oh, my judgment is I feel like I should be done by work, with work by 6:00 because blah, 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 because I need to get dinner started. And okay, well, why is that important? Maybe ask yourself that. Well, why is that important? Because my kids need to eat, because it's been too long since they've gone home from school and they're going to get grouchy. Okay. Why is that important? And sometimes you get to the end and you realize, oh, it's because my mom always told me, well, a good wife gets dinner on the table by 6:30. Sometimes it could be
those moms, damn it.
Yeah. And then you ask yourself, well, does it make me a bad person if it happens at 6 or if I just order takeout? No. Okay. Solution resolved. Right. So noticing when you're triggered, asking yourself those questions and asking yourself, because that would mean what will help you get to the bottom line issue. And then that's when you can say, well, do I really believe that? Mm-hmm. If you say, well, I kind of do, but I'm still feeling conflicted about it. So then what do you do? So then the next step, what I would say is ask yourself to highlight the benefits of not having dinner by a certain time, mm-hmm. the benefits of not dropping everything and, attending to whatever it is you think in your mind you should be doing instead. Okay. So what are the benefits of not doing that? It might be modeling for your daughters that you've built this business over the last 5 years, you've attended to it, you've nurtured it, and it's something that's important to you. And maybe not every single night, but 3 nights a week, you're going to do this, you're going to choose to do this instead. So you're modeling that to maybe your children. Okay, what other benefits? You're not doing everything for your family. So maybe they're learning some independence and autonomy and you're delegating. And maybe you're realizing that you don't have to control or micromanage everything and everybody. Maybe you're giving them a chance to serve you a little bit, which maybe makes them feel really good, because you're always catering to them. So making either a mental list or a written list of all the benefits of doing not what you think you should be doing, but what you really want to be doing. And I think for moms, especially when we can highlight the benefits to the people we love or the community we love or our pets or anything, because maybe you're going to be in a better mood because you didn't just break up your day. You finish that document you were working on. You feel jazzed about it. Then you go into the next 3 hours of your night with your family. Instead of feeling frustrated, resentful, guilty, you feel charged up. You feel like you could let that go. You tied it up. You finished it. You're totally present. Mm-hmm. You have the energy to like take your dog for a walk, which he's been dying to do all evening. So what are all of the ways that the people and the things you love and care about will benefit? So that's another like hack that I like, because often we won't do it for ourselves.
Right.
But we'll do it because of the benefits to the people we love. And so that's like I would love for people to just do it for themselves, but we don't work that way. So
right, let's just sneak it in by benefiting other people.
Yeah. And because chances are, and you all know this in your heart, I think that when you're happy and content and fulfilled, you're going to be more of the type of mom and person and partner and employer or employee that you want to be, because you're going to be more patient. You're going to be more focused. You're going to be more calm. You're going to be more articulate. You're going to, all of these benefits. And And that's going to benefit everybody around you because, right, they say happy wife, happy life, happy mom, happy family, all of that. Because it is contagious, man. If you're grouchy, how many times are you like frustrated and crabby? And then 20 minutes later, the kids are arguing. There's just like a in the
snowball effect. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
And you're like, dang it. I started this because I woke up in a foul mood.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think it's important too to recognize that we are running around not doing 100% of anything, just enough of everything. And we're doing just enough at work to get by. We're doing just enough at home to get by. And I think too, what you're saying is, completing the task, staying focused, getting done what you want to be, focused on, or getting done what you need to do, and then moving on to the next thing instead of just trying to run from the next to the next to the next to the next.
Jessica, I'm so glad you brought that up because I have a kind of a question to ask the listeners and you. And this is because it resonates with me because I do this. And I think when we're doing that, and we're like, oh gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm doing all of this. I'm running, I'm going, and nobody's helping me. And nobody's even noticing or acknowledging, which are all very well and true. But I would love for you to stop and ask yourself, how much of you is kind of a little bit proud of that, kind of likes that high, kind of gets off on the fact that you take care of shit, that you know where everything is in the house, that you are the one that solves everybody's problems, that you are the one that can untie the knots in the cords and in the shoelaces, that they come to you for all those things. Like, we get off on that, right?
Yeah. The first step is admitting you have a problem. Yeah. But true. So true. I mean, instead of like teaching my husband all of these things, I'm like, just don't worry about it. I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Like you said, no judgment, but take ownership for that. If you like 100%. Then you cannot for 1 second be upset or frustrated or resentful that they're going to come to you asking where the salt is or where the Scotch tape is. I wrote this post recently. I got to put it into like a blog. But I think I wrote it for my email, but it was about like, are you the finder of lost things in your house? Mm-hmm. Because with 4, you have 4, with 4 kids and a husband, I was like, they figured out, because I taught them, that the quickest way to find something is to ask mom.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right. So you can stop what you're doing to go find the poppet or the shoe or the sock. Or
I will either tell them exactly where it is in the house, or I will get up and stop whatever I'm flipping doing and find it, which is first of all, highly inefficient, and it's not serving them. And I kept thinking, man, when they have partners later in their life, like, and we're at Thanksgiving dinner or something, they're going to be like, so did you just like get up and find everything for everybody? Because,
or they're still asking you, which is worse. I don't know which one is worse.
Totally. So so this is my hot practical tip for that. So if you're somebody who, when somebody in your house comes ask you, you stop everything and you go find it. Then you just go one step down, one rung down the ladder. Ask them, well, or no. So one step down the ladder from finding it would be telling them where it is. Okay. You stay where you are. You tell them where it is. If you already do that, or once you graduate to that and you're comfortable with that, then the next step is you say, I would look in the garage, I would look in the trunk of the car, and I would look under the sink by the kitchen. Okay. If you already say that, then I would say, then the next rung is ask them, well, where have you already looked? Okay. If you already say that, I mean, awesome. That's pretty far. Like that's pretty amazing.
It's like a 12-step program for sure.
Yeah. Then you can say, this is the one that makes people's stomach turn. You say, I don't know.
Mind blown.
I don't know. And get this, there's a level past that. You know what the level past that is?
No, what is it?
Asking them for something when you don't know what it is, where it is.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow. So, but this is funny and kind of sad. Try it. I did this and I was like, Hey, do you guys know where my sunglasses are? I will tell you, nobody in my house has a problem saying no.
They weren't stopping the video games or the bowl of cereal or anything that they were
Nobody
doing.
else has a problem saying no, I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
So then you say, can you go look for my sunglasses and find my sunglasses for me and bring them to me?
Did they do it?
Multiple levels. Yeah, but I never thought to ask.
Right.
I would never ask that. I would just go get them.
It is a 12-step program because you do have to wean yourself off. I truly, like, from helicopter parenting, like, it's a real sickness. When we were raised and, we just wanted to do better than our moms, and we just went in the opposite extreme.
Yeah. And I explain to them too now. Well, I'll say, you know what, like, I realize I do this and you guys are perfectly capable of finding things in the house. And it's a good skill for you to learn, like, use your common sense. Y'all are very smart. Where do you think it might be? Where did you see? I said, so I teach them. I don't just say like, nope. I say like, well, what I typically do is first look in the obvious places that you typically found it before. Second, you can ask a sibling who you think might have used it lately, and then the last thing I will do is literally walk from room to room with my eyes wide and scan the room for it and look under things. You kind of have to teach them, like, if there's a pile of paper there, the scissors might be under that pile of paper. So you got to actually like lift stuff up and look under it.
Oh, Lord, help us all. No, I know. You need those little tag things on everything. My daughter's into now these poppet, China made toys. They're like fidget poppet things. And they're just pieces of like silicone. And you just pop the little buttons all day.
And then what do they do?
It's just like a trade them, at school. Okay. It's just a silly thing. But, she had a certain poppet and it was like a big deal. Of course, everything breaks down in the morning when you're leaving for school. Right. Like right when you have to leave. It's like, oh my God, I don't know where the poppet is. So everybody's like freaking out. You're like, oh, she's going to have a full breakdown. But it's true. I mean, I think these are really impactful and powerful tools to start weaning yourself off of the doing it, everything, because we resent that. As much as we find some like secret fulfillment in it, it's also pretty frustrating.
Totally. But I think, acknowledging what are you getting out of it, and then who would it benefit and how would it benefit them if you shifted and delegated more. And with all the back to school stuff, Jessica, I've been talking a lot about like bedtime routine and bedtimes that have creeped later, and then morning routines, specifically around how to create more autonomy and independence in your kids. And then also, benefiting you because you're doing less of it. So I'm happy to go into any those types of tips if you want to dig in there.
Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, we all need them, especially, morning times are probably the worst. I mean, my husband he's like, I hate the mornings. I was like, okay, well, what can we do to reframe that? I was like, because your negative energy and hating the mornings transfers over to everybody else.
Yeah.
But what are some tips for mornings? Because we're all dealing with school mornings and right now.
Yeah. And I think for me right now, school mornings are intertwined with anxiety. Like when it doesn't go well, it's intertwined with anxiety. And there's a lot of anxiety right now.
Beginning of the day, it's how you start, it's how you leave your kids, and you feel terrible if they're not happy or there's tears, and it just doesn't leave everybody in a position to get out on the right foot.
Right. Or to learn and to focus and to concentrate and all of those things that we want them to be able to do. I mean, so the first thing when I start talking about mornings, the first tip is, how are you sleeping? Because you gotta rewind, because yourself as an adult, if you're not getting consistent or quality sleep or enough sleep, I mean, it affects
you're going to be crabby.
Patience, your immune system, your metabolism, your patience levels, your concentration, your memory, like everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Right. And so protecting your sleep for me is the first step in having a good morning. And lots of times we've, at least in my house, bedtime creeped later and later and later all summer.
Oh yeah.
And so, creeping it back, even if school already started and people are feeling crabby in the morning, creeping that bedtime back and not like, okay, everybody's going to bed at 9:00 tonight. like nobody's to be able to sleep if they've been going to bed at 11 and all of a sudden you turn off all the lights at 9. So when you creep bedtime back, you're going to want to do it in and it depends on the kid, but maybe 15-minute increments every 3 days, even. That's super easy. But with bedtime creep, you want to creep the bedtime routine has to creep back as well. So, and I always like to highlight that, like, just like we're all different, everybody has different, family values, different priorities, different personalities, different everything. What our kids do too, right? And the more kids you have, the more evident that becomes, I think, because it's just in your face, you can't ignore it. And so you know your child best. How long of a wind down routine they have. The other thing is sometimes when you think you have oh my gosh, my kid's a night owl, like they're hopping around, they're jumping off, they're bouncing off the walls. If they're literally bouncing off the walls, it might be an overtired. And you remember when we were kids and you'd get so sleepy, you'd get like punch drunk, like cracking up, like giggling, laughing so hard at sleepovers because you're just so exhausted.
It's so usually the red dye number 42 that I ate and all the candy. That was Here, cut back on the dyes.
Right. Cut back on the dyes, the candy corn. Yeah. So I would say, your kid, creep back the bedtime routine, and the devices out of the room need to be a big part of that. If they are doing devices before bed, there's a zillion different reasons and studies why it's just not great for your brain or sleep or bed. And I realize this is like a huge issue in a lot of families. And I just have one kind of thought to put out there to give people and parents a little bit more confidence in creating rules around devices, especially with bedtime, is think of it like this. Think of it like if you put a mini fridge. So you got a free mini fridge from Costco last time you were there, and you put it in their room and you fill it with all things like they have on the internet, super healthy, educational, wonderful things, and super trashy, crappy, junk foody things. So the mini fridge is filled with everything, right? It's got all kinds of healthy fruit and vegetables, and it's got a bunch of, brownies and preservative food and, donuts and all kinds of stuff. And you put it in their room. And every kid is different. Some kids are going to eat not really touch it. Some kids are going to eat some carrots, have a half a brownie, eat a sandwich, go to bed. Other kids are going to stay up all night eating every single piece of sugar and wake up feeling really lousy and sick to their stomach and maybe vomit. And so what would you do if that happened? You would say to the kid that stayed up all night, hey, you know what? You stayed up all night eating brownies, and that's just not healthy for your body or your brain. So we're going to have to take the mini fridge out of your room, at least by 7:00 every night or 8:00 every night, because I don't want you to be sick. And it's not, it's my job to keep you healthy and safe and happy. And that's not going to do it if there's a mini fridge in your room, a fully stocked mini fridge. So, I use that analogy just to encourage parents to realize they know their kids best. And if you wouldn't put a mini fridge in this kid's room full of, unhealthy snacks, maybe a device is not a good idea. And if you explained it to them in those terms and you remember that you're indeed the parent, and I always tell my kids, you are totally welcome to make different rules with your families when you're 47. Like that, you could do all of those things. That would be amazing. You should write that down. You should totally write that down, and you can have your kids can have all of that stuff. That would be awesome. You do that.
Yeah. Call me when that happens. Cause I know you're going to be apologizing to me to be like, I can't believe I was such, a little bully when you were trying to take my mini fridge and my phone away. But I think it is important, number one, to give permission to other parents that are out there struggling and realize that, we're in this together, and remind them that they do in fact have the power to make the rules, even though sometimes it feels like there's a power shift in families. Ultimately, it is our job to be the bumpers in the lane, to keep them safe and healthy and guide them in the best direction possible. And, it's not good for us as adults to look at our phones before we go to bed. I mean, the brain is lit up. It's like, oh shit, it's party time. You get that rush of adrenaline. And then to come down from that, I think sleep quality for adults has significantly decreased. I mean, people are definitely not getting 8 to 10 hours, and it's not quality sleep, it's fragmented. And sleep's important for everyone. It's our time back to the mother source, it is how we recharge and get ready for the next day. And it's just as important for our kids.
Have you read that Why We Sleep book?
Oh, no. I know you're a big reader. Is it huge?
So good.
Yeah.
It's so
okay.
Good. And he also has several podcasts that you can listen to that he's been a guest on. So if you'd rather listen.
Like someone asked me, what does self-care look like? I was like, sleep. I protect my sleep I actually have a banner when I have parties at my house that says, please leave by 9. Like
I love it.
9 p.m. And everyone knows, all my friends know. I'm like, Jessica starts the parties really early so everyone can leave and I can be in bed by 10 p.m.
I love that. I will come to your parties.
Exactly.
I was going to say, but you often have to replace that with something. So if your child is used to, doing devices or playing video games or whatever it is before bed, what can you do instead? And so giving them any sort of activity that's an analog type of activity. So something that's, maybe writing in a journal, maybe they're reading a, real paper book. Maybe they're even going outside, breathing some fresh air, stepping in the grass,
little yoga, little bit of yoga,
doing any sort of movement,
little meditation, that stuff, gentle stuff is great.
Yeah,
really good at deregulating the nervous system.
Yes. And we will put on, one of my kids has trouble winding down at night. And so he's been I put it in airplane mode, and I think it's through Insight Timer, but there's so many different apps, and I'm sure yours has things. So either listening to a guided meditation or listening to, like, they have storybooks.
Yeah. They do yoga nidra for kids, and it's,
oh my gosh,
amazing.
Amazing. That would be perfect. So there's a lot of options like that. And then I would encourage you to ask your kid too, like, what do you think would help you wind down if you weren't using this? Because you never know. They have insights, and teaching them to that self-awareness is huge, right? Because a lot of us are still trying to figure that out for ourselves. Imagine if we give them that head start, right? And teach them that self-awareness. You might have a kid that says, wow, for my birthday, I got those cool drawing pencils and the drawing pad, and I never use it. Like, what if maybe I draw before bed? Be like, great. Yes, let's try that.
And super empowering, right? That you give them back the power. It's like, no, you can't have your device, but you also get to come up with what you can do and check in. That's, again, they get to stop, listen, check in. What is it that they desire? What is the heart telling them to do?
Yeah. And how do they feel the next day? And I do think that it's nice to realize not only how it benefits you, but how it benefits them, and what kind of characteristics you're trying to build in your kids. Yeah. What kind of humans are you trying to create? And I say this in the book too, Jessica, like, if your kid is graduating from high school and you're there at the graduation ceremony and you run into the principal and the principal comes up to you and says, oh my gosh, Jessica, I have to tell you, your daughter is so incredibly blank. What are the 4 words that you would just be so stoked and proud to hear that principal say about your child? Then those are the 4, and you can always change them. But right now, whatever 4 things come into your head, seriously, write them down.
And what are you doing each day to contribute to creating little humans that will have those qualities or not?
And so that means talking about them. So mine right now, and they kind of shift, are kindness, creativity, independence, compassion. They kind of changes. But when they were little, tiny, we had these little bubble, word bubble things that we'd put on the walls that had those words in them. And we would talk about them at bedtime, and you call out those characteristics. Man, when you went up to Sarah after soccer practice and you saw she was bummed out and you gave her a hug, that was so compassionate. That made me really proud. And then let them overhear you talking to grandma on the phone. Sarah was so kind today. You know what she did after soccer practice? Da, 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 da. Man, they hear you talking about that. They want to be kind and compassionate. And they're going to know that that's a way that they can impress you and feel good about themselves. And so it's not only you knowing what those traits are for you and your family, but talking about them, acknowledging them, reinforcing them, modeling them yourself, right?
You can't raise a compassionate, kind person if you're an asshole.
Yeah. And you're not always going to be a compassionate, kind person.
Right.
So it's also calling yourself out publicly and being like, you know what? That was not very kind what I just did. And I'm a little embarrassed. And so I'm going to take a hot minute. I'm going to walk around the block, take a few breaths, do some yoga. I'm going to call up the app.
Zen, Zen Mommy.
App. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to get on the Zen Mom app and I'm going to do a yoga nidra. And then I'm going to call grandma back and I'm going to say, you know what, grandma, I was really
not in a good place. Yeah.
Yeah. But
and
say
it's
that
important
stuff
to own up to our mistakes in front of our kids. I mean, so that is also so powerful. Our children idolize us and look up to us and, think that we're perfect, even though we're not. And I think calling out, I have a big thing about really celebrating failures and learning from them and using those as teaching moments. And I think it's a really beautiful thing because you're going to slip up, whether you with your kids or they see you doing something like you said to grandma. And it's important for them to know that they can make mistakes too, and then be forgiven and move on and continue to grow and learn.
And with all the anxiety going on right now, it's really, really important for certain kids, because I'll tell you, a lot of kids, especially when they're younger, their default assumption is that you don't make mistakes.
Right.
That you're a grown up, you know all the right things, and that everything you say is true and accurate and perfect. And man, some kids take that on as such a pressure, right? Holy mackerel, I messed up. And so, if you have a kid like that really sharing your failures and your ability to respond to those failures with, okay, I'm learning this, or I'm going to try this differently, or I'm going to be kind to myself and then move on, or I'm going to take a break and then come back to it. But sharing with them that, yes, that still happens all the time, but what you learn is tools to move through it more quickly or more kindly to yourself. And that's really what being a grown-up is about, right? Not suddenly not making any mistakes, not taking any risks, not hurting anybody's feelings ever. It still happens, but you learn to deal with it, hopefully in a more mature, responsible way, right?
Do you think that meditation was that bridge of the head and heart for you that was able to connect those two kind of forces?
Yeah, it really
stillness.
It didn't happen easily because you're like me, your brain is going a million times. So it took some time, but what it did do quickly was it did become, the benefits became visible very quickly. Even though I felt like I wasn't doing it right and I wasn't doing it well, I still saw benefits very quickly. And so it did become something I wanted to continue. It didn't feel like work because I felt the benefits. I knew something was happening that was important and good for me and for my family. And so, but even though I felt like, oh my gosh, my mind wasn't still for even 2 milliseconds, so it took a while before. I don't know if you ever feel like you're good at it, but
yeah, I mean, it's a practice for a reason.
Not a judgment, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's always growth. There's no perfection in meditation or yoga. And yeah, it's definitely a process of discovery. I love, when someone gave me permission to not do meditation perfectly. I mean, that was I don't know how to do that. Or I'm not good at it. You can't be good or bad at meditating. It's just something that you do. It's just, and actually you're not even doing it. You're just being, which is so it's not a doing, it's a being. So with the 4 kids and the podcast and the book and all of this incredible work that you're doing, what does self-care look like for you? How do you carve out time?
Ooh, so I love that you use the word carve out time, because I think at first it feels like you're having to carve it out. But as soon as you realize that 10 minutes you just carved gave you an hour more during the day, or gave you 5 hours more patience and 6 hours more ability to concentrate and 2 hours more energy, it doesn't feel like carving. It feels like, oh my gosh, this is this precious 10 minutes that will benefit me so much the rest of the day. So to me, my biggest things are morning meditation. And that's also evolved. When I first started doing it, I would, as soon as I became conscious in the morning, before I even opened my eyes, go to the bathroom, drink water, anything, I would just scooch up, sit up, and start meditating. That was it. And I loved it too, because I love the neuroscience of meditation. So to me, that was like getting into the alpha state, like a cheating way, because you're just coming out of sleep. So you're like, your brain waves are already there. You can translate into that so much more readily than if you're
versus having to like down regulate. That's funny.
Yes. Yeah. Brain waves are already there. So I'm all about efficiency, right? Yeah. So you just do it right then. And so I would do it now. I'll do it a little bit. Like I have a morning routine where I do a lot of deep breaths. I start by doing a fake smile. Like I'll just smile in my sleep. Like as soon as I wake up, I'll just smile. And sometimes it's like this. And it feels really funny, but that also has a neurological effect in your brain, and it releases, the hormones and chemicals that tell your body like, oh, she's happy. And I started doing that because I love doing those brain hacks, but also I found myself at night, clenching my lips in this weird, funny way, like not my jaw, but like my lips. And also like my hands would be in fists. And I was like, what is this? Like if I'm spending all night, like this, that's not good. That means I'm releasing cortisol and adrenaline and all these crappy, chemicals into my brain that are not going to serve me. So I counter that by doing this fake smile, doing like at least 5 slow, deep breaths in the morning. I'll do some stretching. And then like now my routine is I make my morning coffee and I go drink it outside in the backyard. Or like a couple of days ago, I just walked to the park, and I did that because what I realized in the morning is we do homeschool. So some kids are sleeping in. Sometimes, other kids are doing work, and other kids have been up since 6:30 and they're like, la, 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 la. And so what I find is in the morning, I get really stressed out about the noise level in the house because people are sleeping. And to me, I wake up at the tiniest little thing. So I get really adamant, like, oh, they're sleeping. Meanwhile, nobody's waking up. They're not complaining.
Right.
And so if I'm not in the house, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's not like after 10 minutes, somebody makes a loud noise anyway, or I go in and I knock over a chair, and then, so it was like unnecessary anxiety.
Or it's eliminating those kind of triggers too.
Yeah,
that about yourself.
Now I go get my little notepad and I go meditate and drink my coffee outside. And that's been my like self-care. That's been my latest one. Another self-care secret that I've been doing, that I was doing before that one. I like doing things for like 3 or 4 months and then I switch it up. But afternoon showers was one, especially during the summer. I would just literally at like 3:00, 4:00, be like, I'm going to take a shower and just drop everything and go take a shower, because you can't have your phone in there. You can't be doing email. You really have to unplug. You're grounding yourself because it's water.
You're getting out the day. You're getting it off your body, the energy. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then that's when I tend to do a lot of my like affirmations or mantras I do in the shower. And so I have like a little mindfulness shower, and then I come out of that and I'm refreshed for the next couple hours of the day, which are often the most stressful in the house, right? That like 4:00 to 7, where you're like, oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. So, and then that benefits everybody, because then I'm in a better mood for those next few hours. So the afternoon shower, morning coffee outside, or the very beginning, early meditation of fake smile, several deep breaths. And then at night before bed, I always do a nighttime meditation. And sometimes it's a guided meditation. Sometimes it's a journal, like a free write in my journal. Sometimes it's a gratitude practice. Sometimes it's a visualization. I love doing like positive visualizations of like big goals that I have, and just sitting in that feeling of what I'm looking to do next in my life. And so I like to have a like a whole smorgasbord.
Like a smorgasbord. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, what do you have coming up next in your life? What's on the horizon?
So I have this Stretch Marks book. I just finished my book proposal. I just rewrote it for the third time. And it's about anxiety in moms. And I'm super revved up about this book. And so getting more attention to my first book will help me land the publishing deal for the second book. So I just signed with a literary agent, which was a first for me. That was really exciting. And so getting that book launched and published and finish writing it is going to be the next big thing on that. And then really getting my courses out there. I have my main two things. I have a small product called Outsmart Overwhelm that includes a guided morning routine. Quick, it's a 5-minute morning. And then I have a 5-minute morning stretch. Actually, that's the evening. Well, you can do it whenever, really. A 5-minute guided meditation for night. Acronym. So the MGM at night, the SMASH morning routine. So that's all in this Outsmart Overwhelm. So that's the thing that I really would love to get out to as many moms as possible right now, because I think it could be hugely beneficial. And then I have a deeper, bigger program called the Mom Reset. And that's where we take 2 to 3 months, go through and really up level, and transform, find 1 or 2 issues that are really causing you a lot of angst and drama in your life right now, whether that be your relationship, whether that be, starting a new job or a side hustle. I do a lot of business kind of coaching as well. Or it could be parenting related or self-care, emotional and mental self-care for yourself related. So that's called the Mom Reset.
I love it. And where can they find you? What's your Instagram handle, website?
Yeah. So my Instagram is official Amber Trueblood. And I put a lot of stuff on there as well. And then my website is ambertrueblood.com.
Awesome. We'll put all of those incredible links in the show notes. Amber, thank you so much for dropping some wisdom on us moms. And it was such a pleasure having you.
It's been so fun. Thank you for having me, Jessica. And big hugs to everybody out there. Mwah.